Impact Wrestling from Glasgow, Scotland. Very cool to see Impact, a TV taping overseas. Long time coming. I think they said was 8 years since the last time. Way too long. But for obvious reasons, we know why they haven't gone over there. But I'm glad to see it. The UK crowds are different. They're awesome, and it's just cool to see a slight change per se. But this episode is really focusing on the turning point pay per view tomorrow. I don't really like when Impact does these short turnaround pay per view. We just got Bound for Glory, and then 2 weeks later we get Turning Point. You know, they do this a lot, but they get a pass this time because they're not really any TV tapings anymore for the rest of the year. They're just doing got 3 specials. They got the AAA show, the AAA joint show. Got the IPWF, which is going to be on TV, and then we got the Final Resolution, and the Chicago tapings are going to start next week, which will be 2 episodes. We'll get 2 episodes in Chicago, and so yeah, they get a pass for this time with a short turnaround for a pay per view because it is something for the UK fans. They will deserve it, and it is again, like I said, it's really cool to see Impact overseas. Hope they go. They used to go to Mexico a while back during the Tessa days. I think it'd be cool for them back to Mexico, do TV tapings in Mexico and the UK. Maybe even Australia. They actually did pretty good crowds when they did the Australia tour. So if they could go down and do some TV tapings and really promote it, they could definitely do a really, really large crowd down there. And of all places, they went to Wagga Wagga. But if you could draw a good crowd at Wagga Wagga, you can draw good crowds in other places in Australia. But nevertheless, some of the news since the last Impact episode, they signed Leon Slater and Harley Hudson. Very hot independent stars in the independent wrestling market, especially Leon Slater. I haven't really seen anything of Harley Hudson, but I've seen a lot of Leon Slater stuff on my Twitter lately. Swanton 450, which is absolutely insane. I've only seen one match of his, and that was against Mike Bailey. Actually, Speedball Mike Bailey. I think it was a Rev Pro show. They absolutely killed it. So, I mean, if that match with Bailey is an indicator of what Leon Slater can do, I can only imagine what he could do with other guys like Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Shelly Sabin, Moose, Alexander, Eric Young, the whole 9 yards. Leon Slater is only 19 years old, and Scott put so much trust in a 19-year-old kid to make him the new face of the X Division. It's pretty ballsy, and I respect him for it. And I'm excited to see what Leon Slater is going to do in the new TNA era, led by Scott D'Amore. And I guess we could talk about the Punk and Will Ospreay stuff with TNA. Listen, people think that Impact and Anthem don't have money, which is not the case whatsoever. Anthem is a multi-million-dollar company in Canada. They have money. It's just that they're smart with their money. Scott. Over the years, I've heard stuff about referees and backstage people. Scott talk about this 4-year plan that they've been doing ever since 20, 2018. They were discussing this plan, and I think this was the whole plan, was to get back to TNA. They've been trying to not spend too much money, and I respect them for that because I think all that money they've been saving is for this TNA launch. They don't bring in a lot of WWE ex WWE guys. you know, and when they do, they come and go. Like Eric Young, Good Brothers, Trinity, Heath, Matt Cardona comes in and out a lot. They have these good runs. They don't get buried, and they move on. So I think this whole plan that they've been doing is for this, preparing for the TNA line. Because they did tease stuff with the TNA belt with Moose, and they did the TNA show on Access, which a big rating for Access. I think they did like 300,000 for that TNA show that they did that I was at actually in Atlanta. And then they plan to do another TNA show during WrestleMania weekend, but COVID and stuff happened. So I think this plan that they've been talking about is this. They have money. It's just they're smart with their money. They book venues they can fill. So they have money to use to spend on guys like Will Ospreay, CM Punk. So would Punk and Ospreay sign? I don't see why not. Ospreay talks about all the time that TNA is the reason why he became a wanted to be a wrestler. So there's that, and he just had the killer match with Mike Bailey, and I'm very curious to see how good this match with Josh Alexander is going to be. And I'm really looking forward to the match against Eddie Edwards tomorrow. So I don't see why Ospreay wouldn't want to wrestle in TNA. TNA has the best schedule for a wrestler. You know, a lot of people think it's good to wrestle one day a week, or maybe twice a week. But I don't know. We'll have to see. And Punk, Punk's been backstage. He was backstage when Trinity debuted back earlier in the year, and then he was backstage at the tapings in Chicago after Bound for Glory. So maybe they've had some negotiations. Who knows? But they can definitely pony up the money. I remember the Good Brothers were on Sam Roberts' podcast saying that they got 6 figures from Impact, so they got money. It's just that they choose wisely on who to spend it on, and that's that. So we'll have to see if Punk and Ospreay show up. Would it be cool? Hell yeah, it would. More so for Ospreay than Punk because Ospreay is the best wrestler. He's 30 years old, so he has another good 10 to 12 years left. Wrestling wise, and then Punk, he's a big name. You definitely draw a house, but I mean, long term wise, would it be good? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Um, but I'm not here to talk about the news. That's it on the news. No one wants to hear about what Vince had to say. Eric Bischoff, fucking dumbasses. Let's talk about this Impact show last night. Tom Hannafan and Matt Raybolt opened up the show talking about Turning Point being tomorrow. They talk about how they held a Glasgow Cup tournament in one night, and they showed us the final match between Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian. They have a good back and forth match. But before the match, Hendry said he's proud to bring Impact back to Scotland and wants to do it again. And Hendry ends up winning the match on Frankie Kazarian. And Hendry wins the Glasgow Cup. Scott D'Amore comes out and gives him the cup. Nice, solid back and forth opening match to kick off the show. Then we had Myers, Moose, and Peraza backstage cutting a promo. Peraza says this will be a warm-up match. Her match with Trinity tomorrow night at Turning Point. We'll talk about the Peraza and Trinity match later. Break down the Turning Point, because I got some stuff to say about that. Then we had Eddie Edwards and a Will Ospreay video package highlighting both guys' careers. Hendry's backstage says he's beaten some of the best in Impact, like Rich Swann, Frankie Kazarian, and says that he should be in the main event scene, and he will beat up Simon Miller tomorrow at Turning Point. Then we get Moose, Brian Myers, and Deonna Purrazzo versus Subculture, and they had a banger of a match. The crowd was chanting, "Myers is a wanker." That shit had me dying. That was hilarious because Myers is indeed a wanker. They had a very good match. Not Deanna, Danny Luna, uh, power bombed Moose, which I thought was an awesome spot. She did have help from Andrews and Webster, but it was predominantly her. They had a great match, great spot. The Myers a wanker thing is just so funny to me. I hope American crowd chant Myers is a wanker. Um, but yeah, Moose spears Andrews to get the win. I like this decision because Moose is challenging for the TNA Championship at Hard to Kill. Moose does not need to be losing at all before his match against Shelley, so this was the right decision. Next, we have Josh Alexander backstage. I'm sorry, Josh Alexander and Eric Young backstage, and Alexander says, "Look, we have differences, but we're also very similar." Eric Young agrees, and they said that they should use it their advantage going forward because they have a match tonight against the Motor City Machine Gun. Then we get Grado versus Trey Miguel, the return of Grado on Impact Wrestling. Grado was with Impact for a good little bit, where he got shit canned by Joseph Park, the pink slip because of his visa issues. And we haven't seen him since, but I'm glad to see Grado back. Um, I love Grado. He's so entertaining. There's like comedy wrestlers get a bad rep, but Grado I feel like is like the perfect example of a comedy wrestler. Because he does play into the crowd a lot, and he's actually pretty good in the ring when he wants to try. Grado gets the win over Trey Miguel, which is fine. Um, does it really hurt Trey Miguel? Maybe, maybe not. He's a tag team wrestler with Wentz, and Wentz isn't on the tour, so I guess it's just whatever for Trey. We didn't get to see Grado's entrance. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because they played "Just Like a Prayer" by Madonna, and they didn't want to get sued. I don't know. Then we get Eddie Edwards backstage to cut a promo on Osprey, talking about how they both became their first Gaijin to win heavyweight championships in Pro Wrestling Noah and New Japan, because Eddie Edwards was Gaijin to win the Noah championship, and Osprey was the first IW heavyweight championship. And that's actually a pretty cool stat. That's a pretty cool thing to say. And it builds, for me at least, more intrigue to their match tomorrow. Because, let's be honest, Eddie Edwards is not winning that match, but it is pretty cool to see two Gaijin wrestlers to win their first championships in respected company. Next, we had Trinity versus Emerson Jane. Uh, Emerson Jane, I don't think I've heard of her or seen anything of her, but uh, Tom and Matt were hyping her up as somebody who's hot in the UK scene right now, and I take their word for it. And she did look pretty good tonight against Trinity. I'm not gonna lie, she looked good. She got a lot of offense in on Trinity, which kind of surprised me. And Trinity did sell for her, but Trinity did get the win, which was the right decision. Oh man, imagine if Emerson Jane pinned Trinity. That would have been crazy. But yeah, Trinity wins. She gave Emerson a lot of offense and didn't completely bury her. It was a nice little back and forth, competitive little match that didn't go too long, and it went probably about the right time for what it needed. Good stuff. Then we get a package recapping the UK tour that Impact did. We had some of the talent praising the UK fans and the fan base, and they praised the locker room. Guys like Moose and Myers talking about how great the locker room being, and it's such a great, wholesome little video package there that Impact did. Good stuff. So after the match, Trinity cuts a promo on Deanna. This is the last time they'll face each other at Turning Point. Because if Deanna does not win, she cannot challenge Trinity's championship while she is the champion. So lots at stake there for Deanna. Main event time: Motor City Machine Guns versus Team Canada 2.0. Josh Alexander and Eric Young, and these guys had a fucking banger. This match was awesome. No need, like, I can't even like break it down. I mean, this match was just flat out awesome. Great example of tag team wrestling. And no, I wasn't really sold on Alexander and Young being a tag team because I'm pretty sure they tag teamed throughout the whole tour and even had Canadian gear together. So I don't know if that's the direction they're going, is to have Alexander and Young be a tag team going forward. I think it'd be a step down for Josh. Um, and I don't know how I feel about it for Eric Young, but I do feel like it's a step down for Josh. You know, he did the whole tag team thing with Ethan Page. So I don't know. I mean, unless they do a like I called them earlier, Team Canada 2.0, and add some members to it and have it be a faction, then I wouldn't be against it as much as I am right now. I don't know. I feel like Alexander is better than this, and than it being in a tag team with Young, and vice versa. I think better than this. But then again, Impact does not have a lot of tag team. Got the ABC, Motor City Machine Gun, got Moose and Myers, got the Good Hands, Heath and Rhino. If Heath resigns or not, who knows? So you know, I can see why they did this, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Eric Young and Alexander being a tag team going forward, if that's the direction they decide to go. So I don't know. But yeah, that was Impact. That was a good show. Very good stuff. A lot of good stuff. I don't think there was anything that particularly did not like about this episode. Um, Besides carrying on storylines for TNA per se, but we didn't see any of the tapings in Chicago. Because normally we would see the Chicago TV tapings after Bound for Glory, but we just got a recap show last week. Then we got the Glasgow show to promote tomorrow's Turning Point. So hopefully we can get to the TNA stuff for the build to the pay per view starting next week from the Chicago taping. So we shall see. All right, let's talk about this Turning Point pay per view tomorrow. Break down the card. So we have two pre-show matches. We have Grado and Rhino will be in action. Don't know who facing. It says will be in action. Then we had Leon Slater versus Mark Haskins. Wow, Mark Haskins. I haven't seen that guy since like Ring of Honor days or Tony Road. So main show we have Eric Young and Josh Alexander versus Subculture. We have Giselle Shaw versus Alex Windsor. Then we have Rich Swann versus Trey Miguel. Jordan Grace versus Danny Luna. Joe Hendry versus Simon Miller. And then we have the most professional wrestling gods, Musa Myers versus Frankie Kazarian and Chris Sabin. And we have Trinity defending her Knockouts Championship against Deanna Purrazzo. If Deanna can't win, then she'll never challenge for the championship as long as Trinity is champion. And I believe, as they're advertising as the main event, will Will Ospreay versus Eddie Edwards. So I look at this card and I don't really see anything that has build to it besides Simon Miller and Joe Hendry. They've had their stuff going on and the YouTube stuff, which is fine. And then the other match with build to it is Usman Myers versus Sabin and Kazarian. Because Alex Shelley got hurt on the tour, so this was supposed to have been Alex Shelley. So this tag team match was supposed to have been like a little warm up appetizer for Moose versus Shelley for the title at Hard to Kill. So that match was supposed to have had some build to it, but the injury was very unfortunate. And then Trinity and Deanna. Now here's where I have an issue. So Deanna wrestled Trinity at Slammiversary, and she lost the title to Trinity. So then she invoked her rematch clause against Trinity at Emergence in Toronto. She lost. And then now she's getting another Knockouts championship match. I don't know why. Her and Tasha lost. Well, Kelly and Masha beat Purrazzo and Tasha to retain their Knockouts tag team titles. So, me, naturally, I would think that Deanna and Tasha would have a going on. I know that they taped something, Chicago taping. So I'm not really just. I don't know. I don't know why Deanna's getting another championship match. Maybe it's just because UK crowd, you want to throw them something, a big marquee match. But I also feel like this match is here just to, again, I said this earlier in the beginning of the show. I think they're doing this match so we can start the feud between Gail and Deanna for Hard to Kill. I have a very strong feeling that we're gonna get Gail Kim versus Deanna Purrazzo at Hard to Kill. That's just my hunch, and I feel it in my loins. Yeah, but yeah, man. And then Ospreay Edwards, that's just gonna be a banger. A lot of good matches on this card. Jordan Grace and Danny Luna is gonna be a banger. Swan and Trey Miguel has the potential to be a banger. Alexander and Young versus Subculture should be a banger. I see a lot of bangers happening on this card. So we shall see. But that was Impact from November 2nd. Really good episode overall. Progress storylines to Turning Point. And that will do it. I will see you guys tomorrow for the SmackDown review. Peace out.